Hello and welcome. We're facing a really strange kind of modern crisis. It's not about the economy, it's not about politics, it's about our own well-being. So today, let's dive into why so many of us feel like we're just constantly running on empty. And that brings us to the central question, the big paradox of our time. We have never been more connected, right? We have devices in our pockets that can reach anyone, anywhere, and yet so many of us feel completely drained and kind of lonely. How is it that with all these tools for connection and efficiency, we are just so exhausted? I mean, the promise of modern life, it sounded so good, didn't it? The idea was that more connection would bring us all closer, and higher productivity would make our lives easier. But the reality for so many people is just the complete opposite. That promised connection has somehow led to this deep, pervasive loneliness. And the constant push for more productivity, well, that's resulted in widespread burnout. Let's really break down how we got to this point. All right, so first up, let's dissect the anatomy of burnout. And here's the most important thing I want you to hear today. It is not you. It's the system. For far too long, we've been told that burnout is some kind of personal failing, a sign that you just aren't resilient enough. But the research, it tells a completely different story. Here they are. These are the real culprits. We're talking about systemic issues, things like just plain excessive workloads or being chronically understaffed. It's the mountain of administrative burdens that just eats up your time and energy. It's having no real control, no autonomy over your own work. And it's dealing with insurance barriers or just not having support from leadership. See, these are structural problems, not personal ones. And this quote from an oncology social worker, wow, it just says it all. She points out that it's not the profound emotional weight of her job that causes burnout. No, it's the, and I'm quoting here, soul-crushing bureaucracy of insurance barriers and hospital policies. It's the system that's getting in the way of her actually doing the work she's there to do. And you know what? There's actually a name for this feeling. It's called moral distress. It's that awful, gut-wrenching feeling you get when you know exactly what the right thing to do is, but you're completely blocked from doing it because of some rule or policy or just external constraints. It's a deep violation of your values, and it is a massive driver of burnout. So, feeling completely overwhelmed and blocked like this, well, it leads us right into our next big topic, the loneliness epidemic. And the paradox here is just so sharp. We are always connected, but we're not actually connecting. I mean, just look at this data. It's genuinely shocking. Gen Z and millennials, the two generations that grew up as digital natives, are reporting the highest rates of loneliness. We're talking about 2/3 of them. This really suggests that all of our digital connections, while there are so many of them, they might not be fulfilling that fundamental human need we all have for deep, real belonging. And it isn't just the younger generations. A staggering 65% of unpaid caregivers say they feel lonely. Now think about that. These are people who dedicate their entire lives to taking care of someone else, often in constant physical contact, and yet they feel profoundly isolated. And this brings us right to the caregiver's paradox. You're almost never physically alone, but you feel deeply lonely. That immense weight of responsibility, the social life you have to sacrifice, the emotional toll, it all creates this huge sense of isolation, even when you're sitting right next to the person you're caring for. Okay, so we're burned out and we're lonely. And what does our culture tell us to do? Just push through it, work harder, right? Well, that flawed logic leads us directly to our third major theme, the myth of laziness, and why we need to defend the act of doing nothing. I bet this quote hits home for a lot of us. In our culture, a culture that basically equates your value with your productivity, taking a break can feel, well, it can feel like you're failing. We've been taught that you have to earn rest, that you have to justify it, and that slowing down is just a sign of weakness. But a huge part of the problem is that we fundamentally misunderstand what rest actually is. It is not the same thing as inactivity. See, inactivity is just not doing anything. It's an absence of effort. Rest, on the other hand, is an active process of recovery for your body and your mind. It's a biological function, just like breathing or eating. It's what allows our systems to repair and reset. And this completely reframes the whole conversation about what it means to be strong. Resilience isn't about having this infinite capacity to just endure punishment. No, true resilience is a cycle. It's a cycle of effort and recovery. It's the ability to bounce back, and you simply cannot bounce back if you never stop to recover. And just like we need different nutrients from food, rest is multifaceted. It isn't just about getting enough sleep. We need physical rest for our bodies, of course, but we also need mental rest from constant decision-making, emotional rest to process our feelings, sensory rest from all the screens and noise, and yeah, even social rest from being on all the time. So, we've talked about burnout, loneliness, and our completely warped view of rest. Now for the good part. What can we actually do about all this? Let's get into the pathways to well-being and how we can start reclaiming our own resilience. Okay, a foundational skill here is something called self-regulation. And don't think of it like rigid, strict discipline. Think of it more like being the captain of your own ship. It's the ability to consciously manage your own inner resources, your energy, your focus, your emotions, so you can actually steer yourself toward the things that truly matter to you. So this brings it all together in a pretty simple toolkit. First, we need to reclaim rest, not as a reward you earn, but as a biological necessity. Second, we have to foster real, intentional human connection. Third, we cultivate self-regulation to protect our own energy. And fourth, we have to find meaning in our lives, because that is a powerful, powerful buffer against all this distress. So what does fostering connection actually look like in practice? Well, here's a really cool, innovative idea that's starting to pop up: social prescribing. This is where doctors will literally write a prescription, but not for a pill. They'll prescribe a social activity, like telling you to volunteer, or join a local group, or spend time in nature, because we now know that genuine connection is a powerful form of medicine. And let's close out our toolkit with this really powerful way to reframe rest. Allowing yourself to rest is not giving up. It's not being lazy. It is making a strategic, intelligent choice for your own sustainability. It's what lets you keep showing up with clarity and energy for the long haul. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a personal question. And let's not think about overhauling your entire life. That's way too much pressure. Just think about this. What is one single pressure, big or small, that you can consciously decide to release right now, today, to protect your own well-being?